Feels so good to be back.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It has been so long. We're kind of just the worst at recording right at now because, when we first started, we were both like, our schedules were relatively fine. We could do this, pretty consistently,
Yep.
and now like we're like full-grown adults with real human responsibilities.
Full-grown adults is pretty generous considering I'm sitting in a bedroom full of like action figures and comic books, but I see your point.
That's true. Oh my god, like it. Honestly, like half of it, like I'd say most of it's like on me for just not recording because I've been just doing a whole bunch of shit, and that has just been like the least thing on my mind.
And our
And
friend people suffer for it, so.
I know.
I'm kidding. I'm just joking.
But no, I mean, like, we both have a lot of stuff going on. Like, you're like a full-on like social worker, counselor. Like, you're doing something really, really awesome. I just got a job today.
Oh, because I know you did the interview, so it went well.
Yeah. Like, I walked in, like, the place looks really cool. It's like small amount of people, and I'd basically be like the night manager for a beer bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And like it's like like one street down from the beach.
That's nice.
And it's like 2 miles from my house.
Think of all the fun characters you'll meet, all the fun beach people and single dads, I'm assuming.
It's weird. Like I don't exactly like I've mainly patroned breweries and beer bars for the better part of like 7 years now. And it's either like, well, when I first started, hipster college kids who are now full-grown adults like me, who have responsibilities and just kind of want to wind and have something good. And then there's still like a new batch of, hipstery college kids who want to get into the craft beer scene. And then like families.
How much of your job is going to be you flicking a white rag on your shoulder when people come into the bar? I'm assuming it's mostly that. Like every time someone comes in, what's up, everybody? And you have to like flick a rag over the side of your shoulder.
Yeah, I have made the executive decision that I am going to buy a jacket that looks like Quark from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which basically just looks like if you took a tacky curtain from the 80s and made a jacket out of it.
Again, full-grown adults here. Yeah.
Full-grown adults talking about Star Trek and the responsibilities that we're amazed we have.
We function in
you
normal
earned yours.
life, so
you
we
definitely
can
earned yours.
So we can have our side quirks.
Yeah, that's true.
So as far as the news,
rolling right into it. See, that's the kind of professionalism we have.
Halloween Kills, that trailer dropped, and you didn't like the 2018
I did not.
Halloween. Yeah, I remember that.
No, I didn't. Yeah,
because you have hate
tried.
in your heart.
I went in I went in wanting to like it. I knew it was going to be different. I wasn't expecting the same thing. I'm not a fan at all of, the remake sequel thing. I just think it's boring. Because, like, Halloween 2 is a fun movie. Is it great? Is it great? Probably not. But, I mean, I consider it to be a lot of fun. It's got a cool ending. And then just, for them to, like, ignore, like, Halloween 2 especially, it's like, guys. But I am, with this trailer, I am happy to see that my favorite Halloween movie is kind of having, like, a pretty, like, prominent, like, hey, member?
Halloween 3 is your favorite Halloween movie?
I love Halloween 3.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, and I definitely find it hilarious.
Yeah,
There's
but
just
that's like the redheaded stepchild of the series.
there's just big chunks of that movie that are just dull, but I do like
Oh
it. I
yeah.
do enjoy
Oh
it.
yeah. Like I admit it is like you're staring at your phone for probably a good 20, 30 minutes. Like yeah.
I like the trailer. I'm excited for this movie. I like the town coming against Michael. It just seems like I know he's unstoppable, but surely a whole town can kill him, right? Like I don't what.
I know. Yeah. I like the idea of, the town just being like, we have had enough of this, sir. And then just like going on like a witch hunt on him, like if he's like an actual fugitive. I think that angle is really cool.
This isn't going to happen. This will not happen. But there's a part when I was watching that trailer where the part where they're shaking like the ambulance, you see all the townspeople.
Yeah.
If they all broke into song and started saying, "We're not gonna take it," and then like they all like start like having choreography and then start like chasing Michael in the streets and just beat the hell out of him. I'll be honest, I recently watched Rock of Ages, which is not good, but it's definitely in my head right now. So I think a whole town coming together and singing and killing Michael would be pretty rad.
Why isn't this a musical? I feel like this should be a musical now.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think this looks better than the 2018 one? In your opinion, just going off the trailer, do you have more excitement for this?
In my opinion, yes. Okay. I do. Because the 2018 was like a remake that knew it was a remake. And it was like, we're doing this true crime podcast, which honestly kind of like it fit, but it just kind of made me roll my eyes.
Well, that was only in like the first 10 minutes. Those people are killed off pretty quick.
Yeah, they were. But it's just the fact that was like the framing device for it. And then they had like this long, like one shot take of just Michael walking through the neighborhood, going in the backyard and then fucking stabbing the woman. I'm like, oh my, like this is taking too long. But I like that this movie is at least something that I haven't seen before. Because that's what I want from a sequel is to, a few of the old characters doing something new that it makes it feel fresh. Like
what is it that you feel like you haven't seen before that's in this one?
Like an entire town coming after him.
They do touch on that in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, but
they do. It's been a long time. Like, I think I've only seen that one like once.
Yeah, like there's like a group of rednecks and the town's like, oh, fuck Michael. He kills them all pretty quickly, so it's not the whole town. This has Anthony Michael Hall. Were you surprised to see him in this?
Because I saw that it was supposed to be Paul Rudd doing it because he was the little boy grown up in Halloween 6.
Which we reviewed, didn't we?
We did. But yeah, he was busy filming Endgame, so he couldn't do it. So they got Anthony Michael Hall, which I'm happy to see Anthony Michael Hall get work.
Although
I'm not sure why, because he's kind of just like that news guy from The Dark Knight now.
So they're bringing back a lot of people from the original one, right? They're bringing back the nurse that's in the car with Loomis in the beginning of Halloween 1. She's coming back. They're bringing back Sheriff Brackett. And they're bringing back the little girl that Laurie babysat. And they're all played by the original actors. But the little boy that Laurie babysat is now being played by Anthony Michael Hall. And I'm like, why did they recast him of all people?
It's possible that little boy died in a car accident.
He's still alive. I'm sure
he's still
working
alive.
in a Walmart, maybe. I don't know. It just seems weird that they bring back everybody except him. I don't know. It's probably the little boy died in a car crash. Why'd your mind go there? And you think he died as a little boy? Why'd you say that?
I mean, that was like 1979. That was like forever ago.
All little boys were driving back then. They had different laws back then. It was a different time. They were all smoking cigarettes and driving Cadillacs.
Yeah, child actors.
I'm excited for it. Did you watch the...
Yeah, I will not avoid this when it comes out.
Okay.
Because like the 2018 one, I was just like, I'm not going to go out of my way to see it.
And the 2018 one, I do like it. I do acknowledge it's not anything amazing. It's just a fun horror movie. I like the score a lot by John Carpenter and his son. I like some of the kills. I like Michael. I like Laurie. It's not, again, it's not like a classic. It's just a fun movie. That's all I want from this new one.
Yeah, and from the look of the trailer, it's probably going to be.
Yeah. So Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, baby. I watched that trailer and I'm like, oh, you got me again, Marvel. I'm back, baby.
When did you leave? What are you talking about? What point were you
That's
like...
true. I never left. I've been doing an Irish goodbye ever since Endgame. Bye, everybody. I'm done. Oh, still here, though.
An Irish goodbye. Yeah, so Shang-Chi, this is the second trailer. The first one, it didn't look bad. It's just, it didn't look like it was anything that I was super interested in. Not in like a negative way. It's just Marvel is so diverse now. Eventually they're going to have projects that just don't cater to me personally. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that I'm not super jazzed about it. And then this new trailer came out and I'm like, Abomination's in it. And I'm like, okay, I got to see what happens. I mean, I was going to watch it anyway. Of course I want to see it, but I just wasn't that super intrigued by it. But yeah, this looks pretty rad. I don't know much about that character, so maybe that's another part that's making me a little not that into it, but...
See, that's something that I'm actually very much looking forward to, is like pretty much after, Far From Home, I know nothing.
Okay.
I don't, like, I know, was it Secret Invasion? That's when like the Venom symbiote comes by and they're like all in space doing some weird space crap. Like I know that, but I don't know like the details. Like I know like the Infinity War or like Whiplash. Like I don't know. I don't know a lot of these new characters. Like I've never.
Did you see Whiplash?
Yeah, the Iron Man villain.
Mickey Rourke's character from Iron Man 2. Out of anything you could have said, I don't know anything. Like I know the Infinity War and then the
and
character
Whiplash. Yeah, I mean, but, like I knew a little bit of Doctor Strange. I knew a little bit of Ant-Man, but Whiplash only popped in my mind because he was in a Squirrel Girl comic.
It's just out of anything you could have said.
I know. So yeah, like I know nothing about Shang-Chi. I know nothing about really any of like Moon Knight. I've only ever heard of him being talked about. Like I've never seen a cartoon with him. I've never read a comic with him in it. I know zip about him, and I kind of want to keep it that way because I want to go into these movies fresh. I want them to tell me that story, because at this point I'm so satisfied with those characters I saw in Saturday morning cartoons. They're on the big screen, and then I got to watch one of them die,
which is what we all want, really.
Yeah, and then like I have let them go. And now I get to meet new friends.
That is kind of how I feel too, where I do feel like I'm not super invested in what's happening next, but I'm definitely intrigued and I want to know what's going to happen, and I do care about these new stuff. But there is that feeling, kind of like you're right, after Endgame, where I'm like, I feel like just cathartically I'm okay. Whatever happens next is just gravy. I'm like, we already had great characters, good arcs, that's kind of over. Are you watching Loki by any chance?
I am up to date too.
Do you like it?
I do.
Okay.
I like that there's no superhero stuff in it. Like it's basically just Marvel's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that as long as I don't actually have to watch Doctor Who. I tried so hard, but I just can't get into it.
Yeah, I've watched I think the first season with the guy Eccleston.
Yeah. Apparently that's the one that no one that people like, no, don't watch that.
It was okay.
But I thought it was fine.
I watched a couple of the David Tennant ones. I wanted to watch the Peter Capaldi seasons just because I like him, but I didn't
watched
care.
that one. It was fine. It had some cool ideas. It's just the way they go about it. It's just like I just can't grab on.
But Shang-Chi looks pretty rad.
Yeah, Shang-Chi looks cool. You got Fing Fang Foom.
Yeah, people are
under the
saying
water.
maybe that's him, maybe it's a different dragon. Either
I
way, I don't know.
I think that would be stupid for it to not be the one named dragon in the whole. Like, what do you mean it's another dragon?
It's just it's not bad, but the MCU has been around so long, and I know in the beginning they're figuring themselves out, but they tried so hard to not do magic in the beginning of the MCU, to be like, oh, it's just science that you humans don't get. But now at this point they're like, no, there's witches and dragons. It's just full blown magic now.
Like, even in Loki, they're going, "Oh, you know magic. My mom taught me magic."
Yeah.
Like, I'm perfectly fine with that because, like, after Doctor Strange, like, with the Ancient One going, doesn't have to make sense. Not everything does. You go, you know what? You're right, Tilda Swinton.
Yeah. She just looked at the camera and was like, just try to enjoy yourselves. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like happy because like you can still pull out some like, oh, it's extra dimensional sciencey stuff. Like I don't need it explained at this point. As long as it's cool, it makes sense within the narrative, and it's a good story. And yeah, that first trailer was just kind of action highlights, but it looks like it's going to be a good story. It looks like it's like East Asian Wakanda sort of thing going on.
And Awkwafina looks pretty funny in it.
Who is she in it? Because I watched it twice, and I'm like, I can't pick Awkwafina out of a lineup.
Please just say it's because you're not that invested in her as an actress. It's not.
Yeah, it's because she's been in a couple of things that I've seen where she's been like, oh, that she's good, but like everyone else has been so much better around her, or the story didn't focus on her. She was just sort of like, that like little dash of salt character, sort of just to come in and spice up the scene.
She just looks like his funny friend. I thought she was pretty charming in the first trailer. She wasn't really in the second trailer as much, but and I don't really know much about her either. She just looked funny in it.
Yeah, I think she's a rapper, I think.
Well, she's in that movie. Was it the Goodbye? Or about her grandma?
I didn't see it.
Let's not keep talking about this. I didn't see it either. Let's just move on.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on. We know nothing about Awkwafina, and maybe we should at some point, but right now we don't.
Just try to figure out where we know her from.
But yeah, I'm so excited to see how WandaVision and Loki play into what's going on with Marvel now, because like with Loki, it's setting up a lot.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish it would set up less.
I wish, and I've been telling this to some friends, I just want every of the Marvel shows to just have like the big reveal be Evan Peters' character Ralph Boner from WandaVision. Like when they were building up the power broker in I Want It to Be Him. I'm hoping he's the Time Lords of Loki. I'm hoping they're all just Evan Peters as Ralph Boner. Yeah, I don't know what they're setting up with Loki. They're doing the multiverse thing, but part of me is thinking because Kevin Feige kind of came out and was saying, although this might no longer be the case, that you don't need to watch the shows to get the movies. And now I'm wondering how small they're all going to end up. Like, do you think that Loki will end with just like an evil villain who's behind everything that Loki fights and takes down and is wrapped up in a neat bow? Or do you think it will have like lasting things open?
I don't think it's gonna have like a neat little bow at the end of it. I think it's going to be optional backstory for stuff that we're going to encounter, like especially with Doctor Strange, because like the whole we exist outside of time stuff. That's fucking confusing to just throw into a movie, So I feel like there has to be something that they can quickly like. It's this whole thing. There's time lizards. Don't worry about it. We have to bring the timelines back. Like to where there's like, oh, you can watch it and know what happened over here, or you could just stay over there and just keep enjoying yourself. Because like WandaVision definitely feels more grounded as compared to Loki, because Loki just like lost its fucking mind.
WandaVision is still my favorite of the shows so far.
Yeah.
Loki could end in a way that I'm like, I love it the best. And WandaVision's ending, I thought, was like the worst part of it.
I do too.
But that's still just been my favorite viewing experience so far was that show.
Like I love Owen Wilson in that show.
He's
I
great.
wish he was just in it. Like this is the most fun I've seen him have in a while.
Yeah, I definitely noticed, because if you're caught up in the third episode, that he wasn't in it at all, and I'm like, I definitely enjoyed it the least, and I'm like, I think my joy is equated to how much Owen Wilson is in the show. He's delightful. I'm like, I love him so much. I hope nothing terrible happens to him. I just want good things for his character.
And I'm not going to really get into spoilers for, our girlfriends who listen to this. But it's like automatically when you get into like the time variant stuff, you're like, oh, this is neat. And they start talking about the time gods and go, are you guys in a cult? Like, that's what it sounds like. They're just like not questioning anything, and they're clearly humans. And like, what's going on here?
Well, it's only 6 episodes, so we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, we're halfway through.
I didn't mean to talk this much about Loki, but
I know, but like I feel like at any point when you talk about a new Marvel product, it's just going to be about the whole damn thing now.
Yeah. So what other trailers you had me watch?
Let's start off with Shang-Chi looks great. I look forward to it whenever it comes out. Let's roll into the Candyman trailer.
Yeah, what do you think? And I'm fascinated to hear you come back from what you just said about Halloween, about the remake sequel thing being lame.
I know.
But no, tell me about Candyman. Let's hear.
I am the biggest fucking hypocrite ever. Because I like Candyman. It's dated and cheap. It's like the one from the 90s with Tony Todd. Like I like it. It's got a cool idea.
See, I think it still holds up. I've watched it somewhat recently.
I do too.
I showed it to Sophie, and I think we watched it with her family. I think it still holds up. I think it's still really cool. It's a neat movie.
I think it looks like some of the look of it has aged bad, just because it was made on a narrow budget in the early 90s. But yeah, as like far as like story and originality, like it, and the fact that like there's not really any serial killer, slasher flick that takes place in a black community that's about the black community. Like it.
Well, there was Leprechaun in the Hood.
That's a much better representation of the black. I love both of those movies, but man. Yeah. But with this new Candyman, that trailer I saw, I'm getting kind of like a Babadook sort of vibe.
That's what I felt too. It feels very like I wouldn't be surprised if he's not really in it at all. Like maybe it'll be just like a voice or an image. But I'm doubting we're going to see full blown him, Tony Todd, like slashing people up. I think it looks great. It looks very just kind of scaled down. The cast is great. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I wasn't super hot on Us, but I mean I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was enjoyable. I just didn't like it as much as Get Out. But Jordan Peele hasn't let me down.
Well, he's not directing this. He's just producing it.
He's producing,
yeah.
Which is fine.
Okay. But no, I think it looks really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited. And I kind of like what you're saying. I don't know much about it, which I think is maybe making me super interested. But yeah, I'm wondering why you think you're okay with this, but then Halloween, you're like, eh.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Halloween never went away. Because the last series movie we got for like the original series was what, H2O?
No, it was Resurrection, the one after
Resurrection. Okay, I always flip those two. And then we went like what, 7, 8, 9 years, something like that. And then Rob Zombie did his.
Yeah.
And then he did the sequel to that.
That is fair. Halloween has kind of every few years has kind of been around. That's fair. And Candyman not as much. It does have 2 sequels which are not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, go back and watch that first one. You know, it's still really, really good. And I think the cheapness does kind of make it look old, but it also kind of adds to the charm.
Yeah, I don't really know what
think.
you're talking about. I think some of the camera work might be a little bit dated, but like
Yeah.
the visuals, I feel like they hold up, but that's my opinion.
I mean, I'd be down to, you know, watch it again at some point, and then, you know, on whatever show comes after that, you just, you know, I watched Candyman, and this is what I thought, you know. I'd be totally down to talk about that for about 5 minutes at some point.
And then the other trailer you wanted to talk about.
The one to beat the one to beat Shang-Chi, the one to beat out Halloween, the one to beat out Dune.
I'm just
this
glad,
year, the movie of the year.
I'm glad there's a movie that's tastefully handling racial problems in this country.
Man, it's good that we have like a cultural reckoning.
Yes.
That we get to talk about it and have like a serious conversation.
Through the art of film with this particular movie.
Through the art of cinema.
Yeah.
The auteur factor.
You guys can't tell, but Kate's doing a chef's kiss.
An auteur. Karen.
Yeah.
Made by BET. Yep.
They're just throwing a lot in that movie, aren't they? I
mean, like every Karen video is just thrown into this fucking movie. You got fucking with the trash. You got microaggressions. You got Confederate flags for no reason at all.
She's like the complaining Karen that we all know about, but she's also a mega racist. And her brother is like a dirty racist cop. And I'm like, oh boy, just a lot of things. A lot of things thrown into this film.
I know. Dude, and the woman who plays Karen is, her name's Taryn something. She was on Orange is the New Black. She's the one with like the meth mouth.
Oh, I haven't watched that show.
Yeah, you're not missing anything.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Okay.
Like I thought the first season was fine, but meh.
Okay.
But yeah, she's in it, and she, I saw an interview that she did. Like it was just like a type interview, and she said she took the role because she wanted she felt a societal responsibility.
There we go.
And immediately I thought, you are full of shit. You read this script and like, oh, here's a fun role. I'm gonna make some money. Or your agent just said, you ain't got shit going on. You are taking this role.
Or she's doing some kind of community service, which I'm not ruling out.
Yeah, I mean, I could have sworn I saw a story with her where she like went to jail or something.
It just, I'm excited for it. Give it all the awards. You know what I mean? Give it all the awards.
Dude, that you know, the second that comes out, we're doing it.
Yeah.
like, if it comes out and we don't know it, and we have another movie lined up, that movie. That's got it. Nope.
Yep.
It's going to skip a week.
You mean skip a 6 months? Because that's how long it takes.
Yeah, skip a 6 months.
To do one of these.
Well, I mean, hopefully, with like the new way that we're going to do it, it's just, record our audio and just plug it in. I don't have to do much recording. We can just do it a lot easier now. But yeah, man, Karen.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be uncomfortable the whole time.
Oh, man. It reminded me of a lot of those blaxploitation movies from the 70s where you had that white actor who's just come in to play a fucking Nazi.
Yep. Yeah, I thought of that too. When I was watching it, I thought of, what was the one, the Black Superman one you sent me?
Abar, the Black Superman.
Yeah, or the white racist lady. I thought of her throughout the whole trailer.
I know. Oh, man. But are you ready? Are you ready to get in to the craziest fucking Tyler Perry movie? have ever fucking seen.
A fall from grace. So what'd you think?
So I want to take you through a journey of the opening of this movie because I have some notes.
Yeah.
It starts off with a woman just standing on her roof, or excuse me, her second story, or sort of like awning roof thing. And she's like, I don't know, I've lost everything.
Yep.
And this cop, he's like, right there. Like within arm's reach of this woman.
Yeah.
Like she's, I'm gonna do it, and then like a spotlight comes on, which like amateur hour. Like who's running these cops? You don't do that. And and then she's like, I'm good. Like as soon as like the spotlight comes on, she's like no, and then she like jumps off. And then I type, would that woman die from that? Also grab her. She's right there.
Yeah. That's how it opens. That's the opening scene. This is what, so Tyler Perry makes like a few different kinds of movies. He has his Medea films, classics all. He has his like women power kind of movies, and then he has, I guess, like his weird dramas. This falls into the latter.
Yep. And this Tyler Perry is a complicated genius. Because this is a serious movie. Those are his best comedies.
When I watched this, I got the feeling of like I was watching like someone's child home movie where like the kid is like the focus and they have all their friends playing parts or something, but like the whole point of this video is like a small child to get attention. Like he's like, don't you feel like he just wanted to play like J.K. Simmons' character in like Spider-Man, but with like a wig? Like that's what he wanted to play. And then he built a film around that involved this like. Okay, so there's a plot. We're kind of like burying the lead here. There's an attorney who apparently has like hates her client. She's burned out, even though they say she's never tried a case or something.
She's never been to court.
And she thinks that all of her clients are thieves and murderers. And I'm glad that she's working in the legal system, like defending these people.
She works in the district attorney's office. She's a public defender.
And she like hates her clients. She always just pleads out, and she gets this case with this woman who the whole town is obsessed with, this case, who murdered her husband and is on trial. I say murdered her husband. They don't have a body. There's no proof that she did it outside of her confessing that she did it, and they're going to send her to prison.
Yep. Because in Tyler Perry's world, there's no such thing as habeas corpus. Nope. There's no such thing as due process. Nope.
She's just, I guess, going to be arrested and sent to prison, again, with no body.
And, like, the flimsiest evidence that she did anything at all.
Yeah, she's this woman who, prior to this, had her whole life together. She was a great person, a mom, had everything going for her. They think she murdered her husband. So a lot of this movie is a backstory of how she murdered her husband. And in the beginning, it's kind of like a romance because she's an older woman. She meets this young artist. His name is Shannon.
He's definitely he looks like a time traveler.
He looks like Doctor Who. Like, doesn't he kind of have like a Doctor Who vibe to him?
He does,
with his scarves and long coats. He dresses nice.
And his terrible wig.
Yeah. He's a younger man. He's like kind of charming, also insufferable. He like is he's an artist, he's a photographer. They meet at this like gallery that he's doing. He does this whole like Michael Keaton's Batman thing where he acts like he's not the person who's like the center of this event, where he's like, oh, what do you think of this picture? She's like, oh, I think the artist, the photographer did a great job. She has a good insight. What makes you think it's a she? And he like raises an eyebrow. And then he's like, oh, I've been to Africa. Keeps dropping these weird hints, like heavily implying he's a photographer. He's like, oh, look, I have a camera right here. What do you think that means? I don't know. She like falls in love with him. And in the beginning of the romance, he's very sweet, very charming. Once they get married, he becomes a totally different character.
And honestly, for me, that's when the movie like gets good.
Yeah, same here. I don't care about this romance of this older woman finding love. And she also, because it is important to the plot, she has a best friend played by Mrs. Huxtable, who is kind of like pushing her through the whole time, being like, no, you deserve to find love. Go on a date with this man. So she does, and he's, like I said, he's very charming. He proposes to her. He helps her find life again. Then they get married, and the other shoe drops, and again, he becomes like a mustache twirling evil person.
Oh, I don't want you to say it, but do you have a favorite line from this movie?
Of course I do. Come on.
All right, on the count of 3, because I'm pretty sure it's the same line.
It has to be.
All right, on the count of 3, I want us to say it.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Ashtray, bitch!
Yeah.
I laughed so fucking hard when he said that. Oh my god, I'm crying right now.
Like,
that shit was so funny.
The marriage is good, and then she just like comes home one day.
Yeah.
His whole demeanor is different. He's like sitting in a chair. He looks like scary tense. He like gets up and she's like, oh, what's going on? He has this like evil fucking grimace on his face. He becomes the most scariest person I've ever seen. He carries his body differently. He's like, what the fuck's going on with you? Like he's all angry and aggressive with her. And like, we'll get to what is going on in a bit, but in retrospect, I'm like, how did him becoming a dick further what he wanted to get out of her?
He commits actual crimes, and there's just nothing anyone can do about it.
You guys are married. I don't know.
Like this movie's so weird. Like we're having a good time, but honestly, like, man, for like the first 40 minutes, like I am just kind of just staring at my phone because it looks like shit. It's flat looking. The colors just like gray and blue. There's
our quote-unquote lead, A, hates her clients, B, took her job to pay off her student loans, and like we're supposed to root for this person?
And it's weird because the movie starts off with her husband, the cop, at the beginning.
Very not really important to the movie at all.
Dude, you could take him out of the movie and nothing changes.
Yeah.
And then it goes to her, but then the movie becomes about Grace, the old woman, when she's telling the story. So it's got like a major identity crisis of who the main character actually is, because the husband still has some weird input. Yeah. Again, that you could just take or leave. Like it just doesn't affect shit. And then it's about the lawyer who you don't like because she hates her job and she's not very good at being a lawyer. Yeah. And which we'll get into later, but then it just becomes about Grace, and I'm more interested in that story because Mehcad Brooks is awesome. Yeah. And he's I want him to play that mustache twirling psycho like all the time now. She
comes home at one point, and again, he, up until like a week before all this happened, was like the perfect man. He's full-blown cheating on her in her bed with some younger woman. She comes in, yells, and then like the woman he's with is like, who's that, your mom? He's like, that ain't my mom. And then they continue to have sex. Like, and then it's like, you should have joined. Yeah. So that's called planting the seeds, Kate.
Dude, this movie, like, honestly, it's airtight. Yep. It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
So he keeps like, so he marries her to steal money because her job, she's like works at a bank or something, and he comes in and like takes pictures of her, and like then there's a part where he cut back to all these flashbacks, and every time he took a picture of her, she has her computer screen pulled up with like all of her passwords on it apparently. So that's why he was with her, I guess.
This is so stupid.
Yeah. So she eventually has had enough. Also, okay, was it just me, or like when she's telling her story, did she drop like 8 phrases like to describe what's happening? She's like, I always knew love was gonna do like all these weird things. Like a word, bird in the bush is worth 2 in the hand or some shit. And I'm like, why doesn't she talk like a normal person? Yeah.
Yeah. Like she's like, tell me what happened, and she goes, heels. Heels. I don't know why, but I remember the heels I was wearing. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, I thought this was going to be like a Law and Order legal drama. Nope, it's an erotic thriller.
Yeah. So after, and again, she like loses her job. Like her job gets mad. She took a bunch of money. They were like, all these passwords and stuff link back to you. She's like, I don't know how this is happening. He comes back to being a good person for like a day and tries to help her figure out what's going on. Eventually she finds out it was him. So he immediately drops the facade of being a good person and goes back to being his true evil fun self. And basically he's like, hey, you can't do nothing about it. We're married. And like the cops are like, oh, we can't help you either. And then she takes a bat and bludgeons him so many times.
That looked great. That was like, that scene is the best scene in the whole movie because it looks like a movie.
Yeah.
That's the one scene that looks like a movie. It's lit well. It's got like these great, bars across the face, like it's wonderful. It's got tension. He's talking so much shit with his back turned. And you know it's going to happen too because you've seen this movie 100 times.
She turns his head to pulp, and I will say he comes back with no explanation of how he survived that.
Like the wide shot looks great because it looks like his head's caved in. His lips are just like over here, like onto the side of his face. Yep. Like he looks like someone really did cave in his head with a bat. And there's blood strewn everywhere. And the amount of blood that he supposedly loses, he's dead.
Yep.
Nope.
he comes back. So after that, I guess she called her friend Sarah or something, right? And then like, then she's arrested. She confesses. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Is there something about like her son where like, what's going on with her son? Wasn't there a part where they thought maybe he did it or something?
Were her children even? Because you mentioned she has children. Her son. Was he even in the movie?
Yeah, you see him at one point.
Okay, because like I was watching the whole movie, like they keep dropping her son, but I don't think I've met him.
So she gets arrested again, no body, just because they see blood in the house, like a lot of blood, and I guess they assume.
Which is, I mean, that's ground for arresting someone, but like.
Well, you'd think if they don't have a body, they would maybe not convict her because he just turned out to be alive. So then there's like a 20-minute part of this movie that's in like the courthouse that just looks like a Cracker Barrel that's been refurbished for this set.
It does. It really does.
And then there's this like montage of like witnesses that you don't hear anybody talking. Like it's just like court jargon where she's like, sustained, objection, court talk. And then he's like, and then it cuts back to the judge and there's like a weird montage and these like people that we hadn't seen before that I guess are connected to the case. She kind of wants to plead, and then like her boss, who was like kind of an asshole the whole time, is Tyler Perry in a really goofy wig and beard.
He looks like a bear.
Again, I feel like the whole movie exists for him to wear that outfit and that disguise.
That's like all of his movies.
Like, why couldn't he have just been Tyler Perry? That's why I'm reading into this. From like, he made this movie because he wanted to wear that outfit. There's no real reason why he had to wear a wig and a beard.
In Star Trek, he was just Tyler Perry.
Right.
In Gone Girl, he was just Tyler Perry. Here, he's just got this crazy fucking head of hair and beard.
Why? It just makes me feel like he wanted that. Like he's the director. He wanted this.
It is the dumbest fucking role he picked for himself too.
He
Like
is just
that character's only good when he's talking shit to her.
he's just mean the whole time. He's like, "You're a terrible lawyer. You're gonna lose your job. No one believes in you. I hate you, and you're a bitch." It's just like,
Really, that's the movie.
if you don't win this case, you're fired, and we're gonna throw you out and probably burn your house down. And I'm sleeping with your husband. There's a lot of weird things where he just seems like really aggressive towards her.
Like the weirdest part, no, we'll get to that, but like,
because there's some more reveals.
Oh my god, like this. Like all the money that Tyler Perry, the dude is a billionaire. He has his own city in Atlanta that he owns, where he just films all of his cheap ass movies.
Would you be surprised if I told you this movie was shot in 5 days?
Oh no, I knew that going in. I knew that going in. Like I had heard about that, and I can believe it because it's a lot of. It feels like a lot of like character prep work before, so they don't have to do a lot of takes on the day. Because some of this does feel like that's the best take they had.
There were multiple scenes of like extras looking directly into the camera.
Yeah. The diner scene with the old man not eating or drinking, and there is nothing in his cup.
Yeah. There's nothing until Tyler Perry gets coffee at one point and drinks it and is like, "Oh, this is terrible."
There's nothing in the cup.
Nothing in the cup.
Like that's such a Hollywood thing, where like someone like, give me my fresh cup of coffee, and there's no steam coming out of it, and they just like full on tilt it into their face, and they're just drinking. Oh, it's so good. No, he's like, oh, this coffee's crap, and you could see like halfway down the mug.
Yeah, there's nothing in there. So, we should talk about Sarah. Sarah is Grace's best friend, who again, the whole time is like, you need to find love. But then she's also like totally on her side and is like, I'm going to help you fight this girl. I got your back. Sarah's like a landlord or something. She has this like home that has an old woman in it that she says is a tenant. I don't fully understand what that dynamic is. It gets explained later. But Sarah is like, oh, I'm your friend. I'm here for you. We're going to fight this. There's a part when, what was the husband's name? Shannon. Where Shannon, again, he's kind of dropped the ruse that he's like a decent human being with a heart. And he's like, being like, what are you going to do about it? And Sarah's like, I'm right here and I'm going to help her. I'm always going to have her back. When everything is revealed later, I'm like, what was the point of that scene? I didn't get it.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of, wait, that isn't, why did we just go through this whole song and dance? Like, see, that's why this movie deserves 2 viewings. One, so that you can just be bored, and then just so that you can be bored and go, dang, this movie just went insane. Yeah. And then so you can watch it the second time around and go, this thing's airtight, but this doesn't make any sense.
So the way this movie works is it's like a 2-hour movie. The first hour is dull as shit. Not funny, just really dull. It's just kind of like, okay, she killed her husband, whatever. I don't care about these characters. Why does her hair look so bad? Just a lot of like really bad, dull crap. Once he reveals himself to be the meanest person I've ever seen on film, it becomes incredibly entertaining. Then she kills him off, and then you're like, okay, well, now I'm bored again.
And the movie gets boring again.
For another, maybe 20 minutes. And then the last 15 minutes, it becomes Tyler Perry's Silence of the Lambs.
I know. I was actually, with the trial, I was like, oh, we're going to get into the good part of the story. And it's fade in, fade out. Fade in, fade out. Just like fading in and out of each person on the stand. I'm like, no. This is the interesting part of the story, Tyler.
Yeah.
Show me that. And then, nope. And then we just have to see why our main character is the worst lawyer ever.
She loses the case.
While watching it, I'm going, she, and the movie points this out too. Grace's friend, Sarah, is like, I don't want to commit perjury, but she's like full on committed to committing perjury. And she's like, she did it. I'm sorry, Grace. And then the lawyer flat out calls Grace a murderer.
Yep.
Like while the character's on the stand, and Tyler Perry said, you just let someone call your client a murderer and you didn't even defend him. I'm like, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I said that shit as it was happening. I'm like, you're not even gonna say anything? You're just gonna let him go?
Yeah, she loses the case because she's a terrible lawyer.
And then I know, but this pissed me off so much because after Tyler Perry's like, you should have actually defended her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't just let people do that. Next day, closing arguments, and she goes, I call Grace to the stand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how this works, dude. You blew it. You had your chance, but you blew it. And even the judge is like, that you could have done this yesterday. We got shit to do. I actually like the judge.
He was funny. He just looked like this sweet old man. I wanted him to have a southern accent for some reason.
He felt like a real judge.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I get to closing arguments. Keep going.
So she's lost the case. She's arrested for being held in contempt of the court. Grace is being dragged away, and then she looks at Sarah, her best friend, and realizes Sarah's necklace is the same necklace that Shannon was wearing when they first met. And this is the first inkling we were like, wait a minute. Sarah, Sarah, what's going on with you? She is not, she's hiding something. I forgot why the main character ends up going to Sarah's house. Why she ends up going back there for some stupid reason. She's like, I need to talk to her.
Because she can't let it go.
There we go, yeah. Again, I don't know what she expects to do. So she goes there, and again, Sarah's tenant, this old woman, is wandering the streets. She's like, oh, Sarah's gone to the store. And again, considering what we find out, I don't know how Sarah allowed that to happen, that woman to get out. So she goes to help this woman back in the house. She goes to the basement and she sees 8 old women handcuffed to the wall.
Dude, that's when I was just like, what?
Sarah, much like Shannon, becomes a totally different character out of nowhere. A much more interesting, fun character. I'm like, where is this lady the whole time? She reveals herself to be Shannon's mom. They've concocted this plan to have, I guess, him marry old women, and here's I don't really get it. So their plan is he marries old women, and then they bring the old woman back to the house and lock. But they didn't do that to Grace. What point were they going to do that to her?
See, and this is the point where I say the movie's airtight, but it makes no fucking sense. Because they kidnap these women to collect their Social Security, but they say they've been doing this for 25 years.
And they couldn't afford a nicer house.
At no point did anyone bother to check on these ladies, wonder their grandchildren, their friends, their attorneys, their stockbrokers, because if they're old enough, they have to have some money. You can't just sit there and collect Social Security. That ain't worth shit. That's barely enough for someone to get by.
Also, okay, maybe these old women had nobody, but Grace had a son, and Sarah knew her prior. Why would she pick her for this? People are gonna come looking for her if she went missing. And then, so Shannon shows up with bandages on his head, which I guess explains how he survived getting
his head was caved in.
Yeah.
There was brain and blood all over that floor and on his face.
He shows up, he handcuffs her. At one point, the girlfriend calls her boyfriend, who's in the middle of an arrest. He tells the guy he handcuffed, he puts him through the car, he's like, oh, wait here, I'll be back, and then drives away with the man handcuffed, who immediately just bolts in the other direction. He shows up arrests Sarah, who again is acting totally different. She has like this evil, crazy look on her face. She's like, I know what you're talking about. You don't have a warrant. You can't come in here. And I was like, oh, I love this lady. I just want a movie of her and Shannon like
Me too.
going from like town to town, marrying like women and screaming out of their inheritance and becoming evil people. He like busts the door in, arrests her, handcuffs her, puts her on the table, and is like, hey, stay here. She immediately just walks out of the house.
Dude,
It happened twice in a row,
that was so funny. She's like, he just like wrestles her, like she's like swinging at him and like shoving him.
His fight with
throwing
her
shit
went on for a comical amount of time.
Like I'm just like, fucking shoot her.
This weird tussle, and it's clearly
all
a
these
stunt
cops
double.
just shooting people.
Yeah.
With like the flimsiest reasons, and you have someone who's actively fighting you, trying to kill you, and you're just like, nope, wrestle. Fucking doesn't even sit her down.
Nope.
Just bends her over the table, handcuffs her behind her back, saying, don't go anywhere. Leaves the room. She's just like running away.
It happened like twice in 10 minutes. What kind of cop is he?
The worst cop. What? Clearly from the first scene, he's the worst cop.
He eventually comes down there. Again, all the old women are down there. He saves his girlfriend. Shannon gets killed. I don't want to keep trying to figure out what the idea was, but like, how could they have kept making money off of Grace if she was arrested? I don't get it. I mean...
I know.
How did that woman get out? Why was that old woman not chained up in the basement with the others?
Mm-hmm.
So Shannon is killed. Did the old woman in the beginning who jumped off the building, did she connect to them?
Yeah, so that's the thing that I was confused about too. And I'm like, wait, so what did that first scene have to do with any of this?
Because she was complaining about losing all of her money, but she wasn't like in the basement or anything.
So she was the Grace before Grace. She was the photographer for the pictures of the gallery that he said was his.
She's Shannon?
Yes.
What?
She's actually Shannon.
But okay, wait.
Yes.
So she took the pictures?
Yes.
That old woman went to Africa and took those pictures. Okay, besides that.
Yes. Remember, because like I said, this whole movie's airtight. When she said like, who's what's her name? Like the woman who took these pictures. Like, what makes you think it's a woman? It's a woman.
But then like, why was she also loose and committing suicide? Like, how do they decide which women they keep in their basement? How do they decide?
I imagine they locked her in the basement. She got loose.
They're really bad at this. They've been for 20 years. They can't fucking handcuff people a little bit better because two people have gotten out.
Because Sarah makes some like blink and you miss it statement about how like Shannon was like feisty or something. She didn't know her place. The rest of these have been here long enough.
There we go.
Some shit like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this movie is crazy. I love every part of this now. And then, it ends so great.
Yes. Hopefully we get a sequel. I want a sequel.
Like, the lawyer woman grabs the gun from her husband and shoots Makad Brooks 3 times in the chest. Yep. Which he does a great like death scene. It's like like it looks and sounds great. Mm-hmm. He ain't dead still. He's on his stretcher going into an ambulance at the end. He ain't dead.
Yeah, he's Michael Myers.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Mm-hmm. And then it just goes full Silence of the Lambs at the end with like Sarah going into a new house with a new head of hair on.
She looks great.
Just going into a new house like, oh yes, I do love taking care of old women.
Here's the thing, Kate.
Oh, fuck.
By this point in the story, everything's out. The media knows about her and her son. Everybody knows. Why would she take another job helping old people when she's being hunted by the cops, assumingly, for guilting old people out of their money. Like, why would she take a job doing... I would have done anything else. Why would she take a job doing the same thing she's being hunted for?
You know, in the 21st century, it is incredibly difficult to not only have a fake identity, but to fake your death.
Yep.
It is so fucking hard. It's not like you can just move somewhere else and just like, I'm not that person. I'm this new person. You have to go to like a third world country on the other side of the world to do that. And even then, social media exists. You can't just not show up ever.
Right.
Like, she's still in America, assumingly in the same city.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And then it ends, like, with her, like, closing the door. Doesn't she smirk or something, probably?
She does. She does that fucking, like, Hannibal Lecter, like, I'm having an old friend for dinner.
Yep. I loved it. I loved it. I hope we get a part 2.
Like, I want a part 2 where no reason, no explanation, just give it to me. Macabre Brooks and her are back at it again.
Yep.
Like, except just make him evil the whole time. I just want an hour and a half of just nothing but that.
And I want Tyler Perry to play a different character. I want him with a
goofier
wig and even like an eye patch and like a goofier wig, playing like the guy who runs the old place she's working at.
Yep.
But yeah, it was pretty good movie.
Yeah, dude, as soon as it was over, I was texting you, the whole time I was watching it, and then I texted my friend Matt, and I'm like, dude, I need you to trust me, but you need to watch this movie. Yep. Like, you're going to be looking at your phone for a good portion of it, but I promise you, it is like the most insane thing.
It really comes together, yeah. Oh,
boy. Like, man, I actually recommend people watch this movie.
Yeah, me too.
Despite how agonizingly pointless and boring the entire first hour feels, I promise it gets made up for. Yep. Y'all can check it out on Netflix. It ain't going anywhere because it's a Netflix original. Just check it out. Damn.
What's the next one we're doing?
Oh, I was looking at this last night, and I had a couple things in mind, but what I'm going to do is I am going to, while we're just sitting here talking,
she's like,
I'm just gonna
going through a list. I'm just
going to go through my list, and I'm just going to pick out something insane while we just sit here and chit chat. Oh my God. What made you pick this movie in the first place?
So my grandma, who I love a lot, notoriously bad at picking movies. Every time we've let her pick, she just hears about things and wants to watch them. Like one year, I think for Halloween, because we'll usually get together, me and my dad and her, and like we'll watch a movie and like eat pizza or something. And we're like, oh, let's let Grandma pick this year. She picked Home Alone 3. I don't know why. So on her birthday last year, we were like, oh, what do you want to watch? She's like, oh, I heard this movie, Fall from Grace, was good. I don't know where she heard this from. I think Tyler Perry was on, what's that cooking lady? Rachel Ray.
Rachel Ray?
I think he was on Rachel Ray promoting it, and Grandma had seen it and was like, oh, that looks good. So she picked it, blind pick. So it was me, Dad, my girlfriend, and my grandma watching it. And kind of a similar experience where we're just like, oh my God, this is bad. And she was kind of into it because she's easy to please and she likes true crimey stuff. But again, once that reveal happens of the boyfriend becoming a monster, we were all in. We were like, we need to see what happens next. I love this movie. And then you picked, what's the last one we did? Wasn't it Petey Wheatstraw?
It was Petey Wheatstraw.
So I was like, well, I need another, talented black filmmaker at the top of his game. And I picked this one, so.
Oh. Man, that's so good. I want to know where your grandma heard. Like, oh, I heard it was good. Where? Where?
Yeah.
Where did you see this? I must know. Oh man. You know what's crazy is like, I'm honestly, dude, I'm still looking because like what's crazy is like when I'm scrolling through on my PlayStation, I see some of the worst garbage I've ever seen. Just like, you should watch this next, and like, no.
If you need to, if you need to
we,
wait and
we,
let me know, we can. I'm only
we might
saying
have
this
to.
because I had a cold brew before we started, and I've got to go to the bathroom pretty bad. So
We might have to, because yeah, I'm not really seeing anything. And the thing is, like, I know I have like 5 stored in here, stored in my brain. It's like, oh, why didn't I say that? Why didn't it come to me? I know,
I already know my
but
next pick.
you do.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you're gonna hate it, but
Oh man, I can't wait. But yeah, you know what? This is just gonna have to be a surprise for the next show because man, I am at a fucking loss right now, and I feel bad about that because I was just like, oh, I know what I'm gonna get, Christian, and then I saw that movie last night, and it's just I've been only consumed by this movie. I can only think about this fucking movie.
yeah, that it'll do that
Yeah,
to you.
yeah. So
So
tune in next
TBD.
time for what our next movie is going to be. Sorry, everybody, but that's just how it is sometimes when Tyler Perry gets a hold of you.
He is a master of his craft.
Oh man. Well, until next time.
Till next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.